When a man starts drawing cars with his pencil and creations start getting made, things come to this world that never were. And today we're going to talk about show rods. Because show rods and model kits have been around for quite some time. And I have no idea who the first one was that coined the phrase show rod. But it's a pretty good chance this book here might actually give you that answer. You can find it over on Amazon for about 25 bucks. Many people have them. They're a pretty good book. I personally don't have it, but I've seen enough of the images and whatnot from it to know that it's comprehensive. It's not the only book out there on model kits. As you can see, there's plenty of other ones. I do have this book. There's plenty of other books out there, but there's a big difference between a show rod and a hot rod. Hot rods are more of the late 20s, early 30s when they came home from the war, started shoving big motors into lightweight cars to get that high speed adrenaline rush of what they had when they were flying airplanes, let alone the combat and some other stuff. But the show rods, they're an evolution of that. Stuff like the zingers, crazy odd concepts that turned into far more. The zingers in particular, these I believe were, I think it was Holly or some of the automotive companies wanted a small car with a big engine to display some of their horsepower performance parts on. And these actually became real cars that ended up models. Now, the chicken or the egg, which one came first? Some show rods that were built as models inspired real cars, and some real cars inspired models. So both the chicken and the egg both came at the same time, which is good, because then the chicken could nurture the egg while the egg hatched and came something completely different. So anyway, show rods have been around for quite some time, and personally, good old Tom Daniels himself, I can't say led the charge, but when he hooked up with Monogram and started creating model cars for him and his designs, the world was never the same, but it was far better for it because the stuff that you can see that he has made, most likely you have built many of them yourself. Yeah, it's a much better world. It opens expression and creativity and so much more, and awe and inspiring, you know? So anyway, Mr. Tom Daniels here, he had just had a birthday not too long ago. As of now, it is December 2nd, and I believe it was a day or two ago. To me, his physical age or numerical age means nothing because the day I built Bad Medicine, I believe I was 12. Maybe 13. So Tom Daniels is never going to be older than 12 or 13 years old to me, ever. I don't care if it's 4 million years from now. He is still going to be 12 or 13 years old because of that emotional attachment to that time with that kit when I got yeah, possessed by the show rod bug, shall we say? Yeah. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Tom Daniels, for years upon years of sketching out some creative awesomeness that has been inspiring to millions and me alike. And this kit here, the Hangman, I do have one. I really wish it was built original and stock, and then I could have customized it. But at the time, I wasn't into the hobby for collector value. I was in it because I was hooked on building these cool, wacky, wild, awesome show rods. And that's just what I do. Honestly, don't build very many hot rods, more street rods, if anything. But the Hangman is definitely one of them kits that I'm super glad is attached to the man himself, Mr. Tom Daniels. And I don't actually have a picture of it handy, but if you look at the box art for Tom's street Corvette, that picture of him to me is about what I imagined he looked like when I built my first kit. Tom Daniels kit, that is. And he does have his own website here. Yeah, I believe this would be close to what he looked like on the box at the time. And they do sell model kits on his webpage if they're in stock. Mostly nowadays they're Polar Lights reissues, I believe it is. Or Aurora, Polar Lights, whatever the company is. That are coming out with some of the new stuff, and they're authentic Tom Daniels kits, which is awesome. He's got plenty of other stuff here. You can buy some of his art, which is definitely some awesome stuff. But as you can see, when it comes to Holy Grail kits or a wish list, this is the top of my list right here. And of all of them, this is my #1 Holy Grail kit. If and when I ever do actually acquire one of these, it will always still remain my #1 Holy Grail kit. Because whether it's brand new in the box, never opened, I will want one to open. Or if it's open and unsealed, I'm probably going to build it because I want to build it, which means I'm still going to want one that's not built. Because this to me is the #1 kit that I would love to have the most. And this here was the original kit that fired me off to the C-Cab design. You knew it was fast, it was drag racy, but it was just wicked cool. So this, as I had said, I have all the links in the description below for where I'm going and what I'm showing off here, but all of this stuff, the Tarantula, once again, a low-slung C-Cab dragster, top fuel. Yeah, I've built many of them over the years, and they're just awesome, awesome kits. But this is only a small portion of show rods. And there are some stuff in here that I wouldn't technically call show rod as much as maybe street rod. And there are some hot rod stuff in here as well. I mean, it's par for course. You can't just draw one thing. But as far as the actual want list, I have to go to the gallery here, where every one of these kits is on my wish list, which means I don't have to write it because I have a website that gives me the whole thing. And there's technically numerous duplicates in here, which is fine because each person that built this kit has a different rendition or version of it, different quality or color, whichever. Recently, we just did a little gasser. Well, this is the little hoocher built by Jim Garuba. Very cool kit. Very neat little box with the bottles on the back. Everything else pretty much the same. Stubbed off the rear axle, so it's just a single axle. Very great kit. And for the most part, almost every single one of these is a link to a picture, numerous pictures with story of the builder and some other stuff thereof. So you could, I don't know how many times I have been through this entire list. This would be another one of those, if I could ever, ZZR. Now this brings up another character in the show rod community, Mr. George Barris. As we all know, sadly passed away recently. But Barris Customs continues on. A buddy of mine who also had passed away kept teasing me that he had this kit in a box, open, but in a box. And sadly, he had passed away before we could ever work out an honest deal. At the time, we were looking at probably between $150 and $250 range. But he knew my love for the show rods and was seriously contemplating whether he sells it to me or just holds on to it. And to this day, I never got it, which is fine. I'm okay with that because it's still out there and I can still get it. So this page here, Collectors Weekly, a link in the description down below, Dave Rasmussen, No Show Rods. This is basically a history, an interview on the history of show rods and models and some of the designers and the arts behind it and so much more. You know, there's a lot in this one. I'm not going to go over much of any of it. But this is where you get a lot more information than I'm going to tell you today anyway. So feel free to go check out this here website, link in the description down below, obviously. Get a little history on them, and I'm pretty sure you may end up wanting to build a show rod. Mr. George Barris here. Gotta love the guy. If you don't love the Dukes of Hazzard or the Batmobile, then you don't know who George Barris is. If you know of them two cars, you're well underway from knowing the rest. Batmobile, Monsters Coach, Beverly Hillbillies, Kit. So many more cars, which we can pull up some of here. John Wayne's Chevelle wagon. If we go to TV movie cars, Green Hornets, and many movie cars, but show rods aren't movie cars. Here we got the Moon Buggy, the Vox Rod. Yeah, this heavy hauler, hard hat hauler here. I believe Jeff Dunham actually owns this actual vehicle. The Little Red Wrecker, Red Fox, which we had just talked about in one of my most recent videos. This, I believe, is a surf rod, Calico Surfer. Okay, fair enough. This is another kit that's on my wish list. The old mailbox, mail truck. The barber rig. Why is it so small and cut off? This is an original car that inspired so many more wild, creative customs throughout the year. The rickshaw, I have actually a couple of these built in my collection. The ice cream truck, I technically no longer have this kit in my collection because I used the motor and under suspension parts and everything for creating the one-arm bandit, which is identical crossover kit with different body. So I do need to get me another ice cream truck at some point, which should be readily available out there. The bathtub buggy, iconic. Just, if you've never built the gold brass parts on a model kit, this one is the go-to. The black paddy wagon with gold parts, yeah, it's pretty nice also, but there's just something about this bathtub buggy that you have to build it to know how great those parts really are. Der Beetle Bus came out in many different ways back in the day. But this here bed buggy, it inspired me to build a custom version, and also seen a bunk bed buggy, so I built a bunk bed version of it as well. Because this kit is actually another one of those never reissued wild kits from back in the day. So anyway, yeah, we got Mr. George Barris here, along with Tom Daniels. And none of these are actually all that there really is in the world of show rods. There are so many other builders out there. And you can actually find quite a few of them. Now, this particular site here, this guest gallery, this is where I go to the my wish list. It's in the link in the description below as well. Deal Me In has a bunch of different stickers, pictures, stuff from back in the day for lots of different cars throughout the years. The Dream Rod, a very original, real car that became the Python's Hot Wheel, that became many a model kits, most recent edition, the Tiger Shark, I believe. But this here is the actual model. And you can see there's Ed Roth, there's, God, you name it, man. There's Cushman, I believe. This would be Joe Wilhelm. I mean, there's no end to who actually built stuff back then. Carl Casper's another great one, which I just showed that I had rebuilt one of these. And I rebuild the glue bombs and whatnot in honor of the kit, the original creator, and because I can't stand to see it sitting in a box doing nothing, because they're not like rotting away. I mean, if they're sun-baked or mold covered or something, they might be a little too far gone, but they don't degrade that bad. And you can save all of them, most of the parts anyway. Fireball 500, I do have one of these in my collection. Built, and I also have another one that I can build, which I'm actually thinking of putting the roof back on it because it is a Barracuda. And maybe swapping the nose, because this didn't really appeal to my taste too much, but the Barracuda does. That much I can tell you. I mean, there's really no end to what's actually a real car in a model kit form, and there's no limit saying you can't take a model kit and make it a real car. But see, this, if it wasn't for the phone booth, would technically be more along the lines of a hot rod. hopped up 30s Ford coupe, roadster, sedan, Phaeton, however you want to look at it. But when you put a phone booth on it, or even a big mummy skull, or whatever else they've redone this thing to become, a show rod is not a hot rod. It can be based on the premise of, but it's just not. And there are plenty more badass cars in all of them. And each one only has so many, but really there's quite a bit of them. The Good Guys TV car, I can't say I've ever seen the show to know the car or have an affinity towards it, but I do have a rebuilder of this car. At some point, I will be doing enough research on it to rebuild it close enough. It already has the decals on it that are in pretty bad shape, which finding a reproduction set or hoping an old set would work are pretty slim. So just to get the colors right, to get the main look of it right, to have the feel of the original MPC kit in honor of the kit, the movie, the maker, the whole bit, you know? That's just something I enjoyed doing. Anyway, there's a lot of different pictures in here you can kick back and check out. You know, there's all kinds. Then we go over here to the artists, the men with the pen, the pencils, however you want to look at it, the colored markers, and etc. Now, Mr. Dave Merrick here, he had drawn, where we got it here, Gravedigger. I had seen this one, and I saved the picture to my computer because I thought, dude, that is so cool. I want to build that. And I did. I built this from scratch. I used a pie wagon for the C cab portion. Everything else was custom built. I used a Fastbuck armored car chassis on it. Hand fabricated this entire bucket unit along with the front bucket. It changed the arms with actual arms from a monster. The only thing I saw in this whole creation that didn't actually jive and work for me was this right here, the front arms for the bucket being under the exhaust wouldn't allow the bucket to raise very far. So I modified this little section here because it didn't look like it would function correctly. But the aesthetics were there. The look was there. And it just needed to be built. Plus, I kind of thought that the skinny little wheels, being thin, would hold the weight, but a lot of it would be on here, and these are heavy machines, so, it's a V8, not a diesel motor, so probably a little lighter version, but these buckets are not light. So anyway, aside from the point, Mr. Dave Merrick here, he has drawn some really way cool stuff that just boggles my mind and inspires me to want to build one of these or one of those. You know, they're a good shot at the butcher shop car. You know, it was a real car, then people have built it in model scale to an extent, including the Roach Coach. You know, you can look up original show rods from back in the day, and there are hundreds of them. Let's see if we can. iPod car. Interesting concept turned into a vehicle. The Tiki. Nah, who doesn't like the Tiki, you know? One in particular I'm looking for here. This one. This is also on my someday custom build creation to-do list. It's not a grail kit to me because it doesn't exist, but it is a to-do list because I have to custom build every last piece of it because there's nothing to start with. Yeah, might be able to find some cool rims that are similar, but they don't have the bones in them. Might be able to find a nice big V12 or 16. I don't know if that's a straight six. It could be just about anything. Either way, making all of this isn't all that bad because it's mostly squared off, just cut angles in it, but it's mostly flat sheets. The rounded isn't all that hard to do either. Fun stuff. But this I could definitely see being created just for shits and giggles because it's cool, and that's to me. That's what I like to do. Let's see, where's back to the home page here. So there's some flat out stuff. And if you ever want to hang out with the guys in the Coffin Corner, custom creators like this, they need as much inspiration and encouragement to keep going as they can get because these boys, they bring out some big dog stuff, man. And there's some in there that just want to get to know how, why, whatever else. But let's see, that's a collector's card. Yeah, so we got Barris and we got Tom Daniels. We got many others throughout the years. But this site, if you take the time to go here to the showrods.com gallery and just take a look what's in there. Quality builds, stock, custom, you name it. You can spend hours and hours just going through show rods to see the history, the awe-inspiring cool factor. Believe me, it's worth your time. Probably far more than the time you spent watching this video on me doing, I wouldn't call it a documentary by any means. I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to the show rods. You know, it's my passion, and the more we can share our own personal passion with others, the more others can feel inspired and invigorating to share their passion, which probably might not know it unless they say it. So tell me, what's your passion? What fires you up? What's your greatest thing? You know, if it's old school 70s NASCAR racing, speak. Show us your what fires you up about the NASCAR history, or if it's airplanes, military, whatever. But tell us. Let us know what's going on. But for me, this right here inspires so much. A simple little C curve making a C cab, regardless of what's back here, regardless of what's up here. Open exposed motor with a straight beam axle is pretty clean and simple, but it's not the only option. There's thousands of ways to make these front tires roll, turn, and have suspension on them than just an I-beam with a single leaf or double springs. Or yeah, there's a million ways to do this. And same back here with their little curly curve scroll traction bars or trailing arms, I guess you would call them. So anyway, I just simply wanted to showcase my wish list. Well, wish lists, both. Happy birthday to Mr. Tom Daniels, in memory of Bears Custom and hundreds of other people out there who have created some of the coolest cars in the world that just make building models of them awesome. Yes, there's Ed Fink. You know, there's so many cars of Ed Fink's that he wasn't just about the cars. He was also about the paint and the art histories of things. And that's where Mr. Ratfink came from and created a whole nother culture shingles off of show rods, I guess you would say. that kind of nowadays almost stands alone, but yet ties together. But there are so many other people out there that make this all great. So if you're building badass models, maybe someday your legacy will be attached to that as well. So don't just build run of the mill like everybody else. Show us your expression of creativity and your awe-inspiring passion. Let us know. Let us know. Let us see what's out there. So thank you for watching me as I babble through some history of the world and some models and show rods and express my passion. So until next time, thank you all very much, and we shall be seeing you again next time. Bye.